The Volkswagen Beetle Dune convertible, obviously a very fun, retro style car with all of its details, exterior, interior and the driving. That is today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. Why is this car so interesting? First of all, there has recently been a product update for the Volkswagen Beetle in the second generation, or the Käfer as we say in Germany. Then the Dune, this is a special edition model, obviously as you already see with the crossover look. And of course in general about the future of this very vehicle and all of its features. Let's now go with everything you need to know on this car. Let's have a lot of fun on Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Let's start in the front. The Beetle Dune features special crossover features. You see the black fenders here and also this crossover look with the contrast styling and the big air intakes at the lower part. Don't wonder we don't have a number plate today. First of all, to pay tribute to our US viewers, because they can also get the Beetle in their country, and some of the US states don't have a number plate in the front, and I think this is so beautiful. I mean, it looks so great when a car does not have a number plate in the front. Don't you think so as well? But now to the true reason, and that happens. The front license plate was stolen. And so I just, transfer it into an Advantage for today. But you see the holes where they have demounted it. And if you see the number plate in the rear, you might also understand later on why someone has stolen it. And I will also explain to you, the background about stealing number plates, because that does quite happen, quite often actually. Then in general, the styling of the Beetle, the vintage style of the original Beetle, the Käfer, designed by Ferdinand Porsche. Round headlights, and this creates especially this, kind look. However, if you look at the front, also with the round hood, usually this is a car that quite often attracts women, and you don't have to be biased to say that. That's basically just fact. You have to just ask around among your friends. But here with the Beetle Dune, with this crossover style, I think it also more appeals to men, and that's also a strategy behind this special edition model. It looks a little bit more modern in general, a little bit more masculine, and so I think appeals to more people at the same time. 4.29 meters or 14 foot is the total length of this vehicle. That means we're in the compact segment. The car is as long as a normal Volkswagen Golf. But it's a relatively cheap car, and it starts, for example, at about 18,000 euros. Germany, taking this as at the reference. The convertible is about 4,000 euros extra, and the Dune version is about 5,000 euros extra. So you'll end up with about 27, 28 for the convertible as a Dune. This is the maximum in price. You can basically get then, add some more features, then a little bit more expensive, but that's basically it. And this one is the only Volkswagen at the moment you can get in Germany, which is still built in Mexico, and that did create some problems at first. The first generation did have reliability issues quite a lot. And for example, in the DEKRA Gebrauchtwagenport, that's the used car ranking in Germany, this one has for a long time the only Volkswagen that scored bad results. But then with the second generation, first one was 1997 to 2010, second generation 2010 to 2011, and then fourth going from then on. This one, your second generation, the results are definitely good now, so no reliability issues so far. If you have some, put it in the comments. I would be really looking forward to it. If you have good experience with the car, also tell us that in the comments. So basically a very interesting concept. The sales figures are not that well, so they have still been thinking, do we still have to keep that car? They could cancel it for sales reason, but this is such an image car. You know, it is one of the most iconic Volkswagen cars, therefore they are still holding on to it. Now even with a special version with the Dune that has those 18-inch rims in the sandstorm yellow color. So this overall color is sandstorm yellow. The strange thing is you have to pick it optionally for the Beetle Dune. That's different to the interior. More to that very soon. Contrasting mirror caps, then also this wrap. Well, you could have left that out. Then the silver contrast at the lower part. Relatively straight design line, I like that. And then we have this cover at the rear part, and we will demount it very soon. We will show you how that works, and I'll tell you more about that, why it is placed right here and what is about the effects. And then for the likable Beetle, those strong round shoulders that form this iconic look of the car. What to think about it? And now to the rear with a special wing, glossy black on the top and the sandstorm yellow at the bottom. Of course, again, you can also get the Dune in different colors. Did you realize in the front or side profile that this car sits 10 millimeters higher? Well, hard to really see that, but that again stresses this crossover style. And you know, crossover or SUV convertibles, it's a thing nowadays. And this might also come quite close to it. And here you could also see the remaining rear number plate. And it's a great number plate. WOB for Wolfsburg, the main plant in Germany for VW. BD for Beetle Dune, and 110 is the number you call in Germany for the police, like 911 in the US. So it's just a superb number plate. So someone will say, hey, that's such a cool number plate, I gotta have it. Well, but now to the real reasons. People do that, for example, that they then can mount it on their own car and drive to the fuel station, and the cameras record it, and then they just leave with the fuel, and then they're searching for this number plate and say, hey, Thomas, you have stolen the fuel. You know, and then you have to clarify, okay, number plate was stolen, blah, 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 blah. That's one reason why people steal number plates, for example. We went to the police and reported it that it was stolen, and that we also have it on paper that it was stolen, made some special own number plate on our own on paper that we put in the front windscreen, and when the police stops you, then you can explain, okay, we're preparing a new one, but until now we can continue driving because we already told your colleagues it has been stolen, here's the paper. And we also have the special build your own number plate in the front. That's okay then, temporarily at least. We'll continue with our review. What about the convertible roof cover? First of all, it's of course not the most practical solution that it was built in such a way. If you mount it, and it takes some time, better with two people, then it does reduce the wind noises, especially when you're also driving with people in the rear, but we'll soon come to the details of that. That might not be recommendable. Here in the front, there's a click in or click out mechanism where you can really secure it like this. You also hear the click here again. There it was. So and that secures it really. Then unmounting is especially the same. Here's some foam inside that also sticks it to the side, and then you just have to remove it right here. And it's also the fact that it's really bulky. So same at the other side. And so if you demount it like this, yeah, where to put it? And I mean, in the trunk, or maybe on the rear seats. So I'm not sure if I would really do it in everyday driving life. And well, it doesn't look that beautiful now when the convertible roof is down, like this. But probably I would just leave it like this in everyday driving because I want to open and close it and so on, and maybe just leave this in the basement. Or what would you do? By the way, if you do it flip over, which figure-wise doesn't happen too often, then there's also here these overroll bars that would pop out right there. And wind deflector you can flip up like this. I can also show you how you can mount and demount it, and there's also a nice solution for the trunk to store it. So first of all, raise the head restraints in the rear just a little bit because the wind cut is a little bit hidden. Then you have to pull it up like this so that it folds just a little bit, and here, important, the front part here has to be moved up. Then you can flip it, and then there are some rubber parts where you can then put it in like this again. Again, important, here like this it's fixed. If you put this one up, then it's possible here to flip the wind cut, and then it's also possible to store it well in the rear. I can show you that, and there you can see those mounts, and then also the interior is ready for testing here how much space or not we will have here in the rear part. And there it is, flipping the VW logo opens the trunk. Those 225 liters are not much, and you see the limited loading possibility. Yeah, you do lose some space due to the design, definitely. Backpack here, open suitcase, you cannot close the suitcase inside the trunk, so really limited. But then, here for the wind cut, where shall I put it? Look closer here. And there it is. Interesting system. Like this here, you know, where it's a little bit cut out on the right side. Then push it to the very rear, push it up, and then it fits exactly right here and here. And then you can store it. It's an interesting solution they have found here. And overall, the other possibility you have at least is here, right and left. You can both flip the seats, but you can just unleash them there, and you have to go around and flip them manually, like this and like this. You don't have an even loading space, but you can at least load through some longer stuff then. This is the car key, standard Volkswagen key. You don't need to flip it out because there's also a keyless entry function available right here. And so you can just do it like this, open the door, and there's a special Beetle Dune interior here that is from standard equipment for the Beetle Dune. At the inside of the doors, also at the dashboard, you see this Sandstorm yellow inlets, pretty spectacular. And also at the seats already you can see those yellow contour stitches and cloth on the inside, leatherette on the outside. A very beautiful setup, and the compact steering wheel with yellow contour stitches on the inside, Dune logo at the lower part. And it's so slim that it has a really vintage look and feeling, like the very vintage Beetle. Fun thing about this vehicle that you always discover new details. For example, those storage spaces here in the side with the special, you know, fixation here. Well, I mean, it's really good, for example, for sunglasses. And the speakers here that you can also get. This round element is also illuminated at night. Closer look at the steering wheel with the Dune logo and the contour stitches. Again, sadly you're using real animal skin on the outside, unlike as for the seats. Here left control for picking up the phone and also volume. Right side then to control the small menu in the instruments. Let's get inside. Easy entry, the doors open very wide. Of course, you're also supposed to get in the rear part later on. The seats, as I said, a good combination, the cloth on the inside, visually very attractive, and you know, first impression is also good comfort-wise. There are surely seats that are a little bit more comfort on the very, very long-term run, but so far I didn't have any problems. And also, as for the height, no problems so far. We'll soon also experience how it is when the roof is closed. That will of course be more exciting height-wise. The steering wheel you can adjust in every kind of direction. That's very good. And also the seats, you can put them a little bit higher or all the way down, back part, or manual, but I mean, why not? You don't need electric seats in here. And at some point you also have to save some money. Cockpit overview, such a likable cockpit in the Dune. As I said, all the glossy covers in Sandstorm yellows are already included. A lot of emotional features and still very clean. And then if you ask me, do you realize it's a Mexican Volkswagen? Is it then lower in the build quality than it would be coming from Germany? Actually no, it's a very good build quality. What you do realize, it's not the most updated, the most modern Volkswagen stuff you can get, basically, like, you know, in a normal Volkswagen Golf that is from the latest generation, or maybe in a new Touran, because some of the stuff is a little bit dated, but just a little bit. In general, still modern and a good quality, definitely. And you have emotional features like those turbo bar gauges here in top, clock, oil, temperature, and also now with the product update you get a new infotainment system. First of all with the proximity sensor here, I will show you that in the GPS and the details very soon, and also smartphone connectivity. AC unit very well reachable right here, manual transmission, but you can optionally also get the DSG, the dual clutch transmission, for different engine styles. And again, round gauges in the front instruments, round style here. So overall, this vintage style again dominates. And this, by the way, here is the special Käferfach, the Beetle case, if you want so. Another small storage space right here. It's also, you know, famous that you can mount a flower holder right here. That is done in a lot of vintage Beetles, and normal glove box is in the lower part with reasonable space, and also our papers from the police, for example. And let's take a look at the storage spaces. The armrest, one, and always versatile. You can remove those rubber covers, that you can get them out and then clean them. So a nice solution. Put it up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 beverage holders, a little bit adaptive. Nice solution, also big enough. And for the rear seats, there's another storage space, another beverage holder available, and the 12-volt power supply. You can hear the cover, and another 12-volt power supply right here. And in the front, you can put the smartphone and also USB and aux-in connection. So here we'll also plug in the smartphone then for the infotainment system. And you can see then already the Apple CarPlay popped up. Android Auto also available with this app connect option you have, and then you can listen to your favorite music, for example, or also if you go back to the music here menu, you can select the Apple CarPlay, but also the normal setup functions, GPS, always do like that, or also with a touchscreen, reasonable size, and the reaction times are also very nice. Digital radio is available. Phone connection could also be done via Bluetooth. That is the alternative. And then the GPS. You can scroll around like with a smartphone. Overall, a very satisfying infotainment unit. Here is the proximity sensor again. Now the lower shortcuts, and then magic, plop, you got them again. A standard AC unit, also again with a solid build quality and easy to control. Those round instruments you might also know from the Volkswagen Up, here also with the yellow background color. In the middle part, the speed, the lower screen will be the digital speedometer, or for consumption, left side RPM, right side fuel status, and creates also this round vintage look. So it is a 2+2 seater. You can slide the seat to the front, but then again, when there's a convertible roof opened, you can get in the rear, but there's no knee space left really, so I cannot really sit here. Maybe children. There's also Isofix available here, so you can fix child seats. That's good. For every other than children, well, you put your luggage here. Then you can really use this car for some holiday trips and so on, because if you combine the rear trunk and then the top of the seats, that's possible. Or as I said, when you flip the seats, that still works, but you know, for transporting people, maybe if you have two like people were like 160, 170 meters front and the rear, that might work, but me 1.86 m or 6'1", never ever. And what about the roof? Count the seconds below, how long it takes. And what's also interesting, it works until a speed of 30 kilometers an hour. And that's the advantage of a soft top. And also the windows raise up right there. Then we can take another look also how the car looks closed. Let's get inside again when the roof is closed. Headroom wise, again 1.86 m or 6'1". Wow, so much space above my head, that's no problem at all. What about the rear? Here again you can see the sliding process. Well, as I said, knee space wise it is always a problem, but then again, oh, I'm stuck with my microphone. So when I'm in here rear right now, hey guys. Well, headroom wise, that would be okay. Me with my side, I do exactly fit in there, even if I lay back a little bit. Interesting. And I do sit quite comfortable here in the rear. The only problem is really the knee space. So if I would be in the rear, there has to be a tiny driver in the front. Always fun to open this hood right here. The original vintage Beetle, of course, had the engine in the rear. That's not the case right there. It's a TSI. But first, let's talk about which diesels would be available in Europe. 2-liter TDI with 110 or 150 horsepower. And here now the TSI, the turbocharged petrol engine, 1.2 liter, 1.4 liter. So 1.2 with 105, 1.4 liter with 150 horsepower. And the 2-liter, as we see it right here, top engine, 220 horsepower, 6.7 seconds acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And for the US, there would also be a 1.8 liter engine available, then with 170 horsepower, but that is again exclusive to our friends in the US, also a turbocharged one. But this one here again for all countries, the top engine, reasonable power for a compact car, and so I'm even more looking forward to driving that one now. Welcome to our driving part, the most fun part for today. As I always like to welcome you in a convertible. What we tell you about driving this car would of course count for the coupe as well as for the convertible. Just that we have an additional convertible part, you know, with wind features and so on. We start in the city, then we'll also have a part on the Autobahn, especially focusing also on open top riding. Later on we'll also close the roof, that we can talk about the sound installation when the roof is closed, and also a countryside enjoyment part of riding. Let's start in the city here. And the good thing about the convertible is, of course, always, even when you're in the city, when you have the open top, you can also enjoy standing at a traffic light. We have the windows all up, that we have a better sound for you. Otherwise, I would also drive with windows down, usually in city traffic. This car here has the length of a normal compact car. For example, if you compare it to another Volkswagen car, length of a Volkswagen Golf. However, it feels really agile and it feels shorter a little bit than it is. It more feels like you were driving a small segment vehicle. And why is that? So first of all, you have a very good overview, as the doors from the inside seem to be very slim and upright window position. The steering is super light, so especially when you want to ease around the car in a parking lot, that doesn't need any power. The downside is that for sporty drivers it doesn't feel too natural. However, well, here you see in the lower angles hardly any commands are transported. But then after that the steering wheel is fairly direct, but of course not what you would conceive as a sporty direct steering wheel. What I've told you earlier in the interior review, that it's very interesting that you have this very slim steering wheel, and especially when you drive the car, that creates a kind of retro feeling. If you follow Autogefühl regularly, sometimes we also test vintage cars for fun, and they have those very, very slim steering wheels, and it reminds us a little bit of that. So you got some of those original Beetle, or Käfer as we say in Germany, feeling by the steering wheel. And also all of the round elements you are facing here. As I've shown you earlier, sometimes you can also take a look at the oil temperature or also the turbo bar pressure with those additional elements. The view to the rear is a little bit limited just because the rear mirror is very tiny. Other than that, you can just turn around. View here is of course a little bit limited then by the wind deflector. And we're driving the 2-liter turbo engine, the biggest engine that is available for that one, the most powerful one with 220 horsepower, 6.7 seconds 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 61 miles per hour. And if you wonder why I sometimes repeat those figures, it's easy to remember when I say something emotional about the car, but figures are always hard to remember, and therefore I sometimes repeat them, you know, for example in the engine part and then again in the driving part, because, you know, something, oh, what was the acceleration figure again, and then I just mention it again, and you can be sure to remember that. Start-stop function is also available with this engine, or does come automatically, so at the moment it's also relatively silent here. What is quite surprising to me is, I'm already feeling it now when driving about 50 here inside the city, the wind features are very good actually, so I didn't expect that much. I mean, it's not the, yeah, of course, jerk. So it's not, you know, the newest building platform, and also not the newest car building form. It's really also a retro style as we've seen on the exterior. But still, you're very well protected against the wind, and we will also soon find more about it when we get the transition to the Autobahn. It will be very exciting, definitely. And overall, you really have a fun feeling of driving the car, and it's it's really strange to describe, because there are those fun feelings as for the sporty side of the car, for example, or a fun and relaxed feeling as for a comfort side of the car. This car has something special when driving it, because you feel a little bit like driving a vintage car, but you still have the comfort and the amenities of a modern car. I think that's the most important point when driving this car, and that could be also the biggest selling factor too, because, you know, a lot of people, me also, I love vintage cars from the exterior, from the outside. Yes, it's also fun to ride them, but then again, if you think about safety issues, servo steering, brake support, electronic brake support, infotainment connect, like I can listen to my music, modern GPS and so on, then vintage cars fail, of course. And here it's really possible to combine both. So this is really the special offer that Volkswagen still has, although they're not really earning money with the car because sales figures are not high enough. This is really an image car that they're still keeping up. So, cruising in the city right now, I can always set the cruise control. Adaptive cruise control is not available. Why is that? It's still not a relatively new car. Even the second generation from 2010, 2011 doesn't have the most modern stuff they have to offer. Well, updated now with the infotainment system recently, that's good. But the basic stuff, not the newest infotainment system. We also don't have the autonomous braking assistant inbuilt here. That would have been necessary, I think, with the latest product update. Yeah, that's, I think, the most important point. At least, for example, we have a blind spot monitor. I could show you that, for example, when we're soon approaching the Autobahn, then let someone overtake me. I can show you more about that. Of course, we'll see the lights flickering inside there. Here, when I'm doing some lane changes, see how easy it is with the steering wheel. It's always fun just to grab the steering wheel as it's so slim. There it is. See, that was the blind spot indicator now. I'm also looking at the digital speedometer, so analog and both digital available here. When I'm just driving in the city and really hammering the throttle, the consumption could go up to 9 liters. But if you're driving the car calmly, also a lot of Autobahn riding, you can also easily drive the car with 6.5 liters. And a mix between, I think, 7 liters, 100 kilometers would be a realistic factor. Yeah, that should be less. I mean, it's not a huge car. Yes, it is the most powerful engine, 220 horsepower for such a car is already really powerful. No question about that. But still, I would expect the consumption to be a little bit lower. That's quite often the case with the Volkswagen turbo petrol engines. They're super refined from the power and from the sound and from how calm they're running. But they have a little bit too high consumption, and we will soon also show you some acceleration stuff. I mean, 6.7 seconds. You wouldn't expect it probably from such a car. People look at it, wow, it's a beautiful, vintage style car. Now even with the Dune, we see also reactions from people. They're, really looking. It's really an eye catcher, but they wouldn't expect that the car is also fast. And we can try to surprise some people by that, for example. So let's go. See if we can overtake some. Maybe let me show you some 30 to 70 or so second gear. Let's go now. That was 35 to 75 now. So that went quite fast. Just second gear, hammer the throttle, turbo sets in. Just takes half a second. And there's really good acceleration. It's not the police, it's the ambulance, by the way, you're hearing. I'm always looking out for the police today because we got this paper front number plate, as I explained to you earlier. We have been stopped by the police once, but of course we can explain them, and we also already have a paper from the police explaining that, so it's no problem if they catch us. But I hope they won't interrupt us. But it's, it remains to be very exciting for you. So wait up for if the police will stop us anymore again. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to find out. So now we steadily make the transition to the Autobahn riding part. You've maybe seen it already on camera. At the moment, I don't have this boat cover, as you all also call it. Or this special cover for the Cabriolet roof. I don't have it mounted right now, but I did several tests with having it mounted, and I'll give you some insight of that when we reached 100 kilometers an hour. One more acceleration here for the engine. For example, when I go 60 to 80, it's in third gear. Let's go now. That's it. That was 60 to 85 even. And the really surprising thing is also, even if you're in a sixth gear on the motorway, sixth gear is usually just meant to be like rolling at higher speed. You can even accelerate from 100 to 130, so even at higher speeds, motorway riding is no problem. What about the RPMs? I can already go in the 6th gear at 70 kilometers an hour. Then I have about 1,300 RPMs. Let's see how it is at 100. Now 70 to 100, let's go. And that's it. And cars behind me are wandering. Now we've reached 100, and that is the speed you can fairly go on the Autobahn, also with the open top. Above that it gets a little bit unpleasant, so from the wind noises and so on. But with 100 we're really fine, and we can set the normal cruise control for that to remain the speed. Let's get in front of the motorcycle. And what is special about the cover for the convertible top, it does reduce the wind noise, so it doesn't make you feel warmer. That is, you know, the wind deflector, that is doing a tremendous job. The huge wind deflector you see always mounted when you drive it, unless, you know, in driving it in California, that doesn't matter. But then the convertible cover, you really hear it like from the sides and the rear. That is reducing the wind noises. So questionable again if you're really willing to mount that all the time and demount it again. I think I would not do it. But if you want to drive 100 or a little bit higher on the Autobahn for a longer time, then it could be an argument to go for that. So general Autobahn cruising is also comfortable with this car, no problem. Easy steering again. And still an agile feeling and a fun driving experience. So then we'll get off the motorway, also test the brakes and a little bit of the agility in the corners. Off gear. More speed now. Pushing me a little bit to the front, but still, that was a corner with 80 about now. Brakes also good support. When you're having the throttle in the 2nd gear and you're in a corner, then you feel that the car is front wheel driven, because you feel that the front wheels are a little bit directing the steering, so you have to be aware of that. But that's a normal thing with front wheel driven cars if they have a lot of power like it is here. 220 horsepower is still something that does work with the front wheels. Everything that is above that needs basically an all-wheel drive, or if we think about, for example, the Seat Leon Cupra, at least needs an electronic differential in the front, that the torque on each wheel is a little bit reduced maybe, or fitted to each other when you're accelerating out of a corner. Now we get to our countryside riding part, where we can really enjoy the convertible riding, and that is where especially the convertible is really at home. So overall in driving, a good compact car feeling. It feels smaller than it is, easy to ride, agile to ride, fun to ride, and especially with the convertible. I mean, when the car is available as a coupe or the convertible, I would always go for the convertible. Or what would you do? Give me your thoughts on that in the comments, definitely. So, 5th gear cruising now. Also set the cruise control again and just relax here in this countryside. That's what the car is really made for. Contact to nature, with the smells, the sun. And again, with this car, really perfectly suitable for that. Some more agility here. You see again, in the first degrees, the steering wheel is relatively dead. But then as long as you get above that, then you have a good reaction from the steering wheel. So reduce the speed just a little bit. Here it is. Oh, vintage American car. What was it? I'm not quite sure. Do you know what it was? Put me in the comments. Motorcycle weather here today as well. A lot of motorcyclists. Here you see, as soon as I'm not in this first dead region, I got a nice direct input from the steering wheel, and that also counts for this fun feeling. So I hope you enjoyed this riding part here together with us. And tell me also in the comments if you are a convertible driving lover. And what was missing? Driving it with closed roof, and I want you to enjoy, look at that, the real vintage Beetle in the front of us. Look at how slim it is and how wide our car is in comparison to this. And a baby blue color. So nice. And yeah, well, how can you drive this car at about 100? It is a soft top. It is insulated, yes. It is not the most silent car on the Autobahn here. However, you still, you know, I think you hear it on camera. So it's not the ideal silent Autobahn car. The coupe will be a little bit more silent if it's more important to you. But again, as I could decide it, I would always go for the convertible, even if it's not that silent here when driving with the roof closed. So I think it didn't even make too much difference if the roof was open or closed now. But of course, you know, if you go a little bit higher speeds, it will be more comfortable, or it maybe gets too cold in summer. But also a key finding was that this can be definitely used as an all-season convertible. That is also very interesting, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, you have a lot of space above your head, a lot of headroom. Maybe we wave. So, got this special vintage looky for today. The front is still quite the same, you know, from the styling. If I look at it in the rear mirror now, and that's it now, really, from driving the Beetle Dune. And now the conclusion, Volkswagen Beetle Dune, today here as a convertible. First of all, the updates they did, very nice, for example with the infotainment system. Then this Dune Special Edition, very attractive, creates this crossover style and also makes it more likable for male customers. At least that's all I take it from that one. Looking forward to your feedback on that, of course. In general, the exterior very likable. The second generation is also better than the first generation, not only quality-wise, but also from the visual part. It still conveys this vintage look, exterior and also in the interior, with a good build quality. So you don't really realize it's a Mexican VW. And of course they have the same quality processes right over there. And also the new Volkswagen Tiguan as the XL version, or the 7-seater, that you will also get in the US, and optionally in Europe. That one will also be built in the Mexican plant, for example. The interior with a nice ideas here with the Dune edition, also in the Sandstorm yellow color. Overall a very, very fun car, fun in riding, and also fun just from the feeling. There are hardly any cars you can get that have a modern technology, modern style infotainment, but still convey a vintage car feeling. Maybe the Mini a little bit, but I can say the interior build quality is here also better than in the Mini. The only downside of this vehicle, well, it's not very versatile. The building form of that one doesn't have many advantages. You hardly have any storage space, also no real space for rear passengers. That's the biggest downside of this car here, of course. Other than that, we had a lot of fun. Maybe a little bit less consumption with this engine would have been better as well. And power-wise, in driving, that was good too. Maybe the guy that stole our number plate, beep you, and also see you next time at Autogefühl. Everyone else that did not steal our number plate but follow all our episodes. Hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to your feedback, guys.